Hello YouTube, I am Orange Peter, and today I'm making another tutorial for you guys. Today's tutorial is going to be a more advanced tutorial covering my easy mobile pan and zoom resource, on which I have shared with you on the GameMaker Marketplace, which I've uploaded to the GameMaker Marketplace. If you don't know what it is, you can check out the Marketplace listing as well as the demo I made of it, the commercial, if you will, and I also made a other tutorial about it. This is covering some of the more specific advanced features. So, with that said, let's move on. So I'm going to be kind of emulating the demo quite a bit. I have some sprites. I have this snap back, which is a background, which has all kinds of pages that we're going to be scrolling through. I just changed the origin, let's not do that. I have a chessboard and I have a pawn, so I'm going to attach the pawn to the chessboard so that whenever the chessboard moves, so does the pawn, and you can move the pawn individually as well. I went ahead and set it at the chessboard, so that makes the zooming look better. Alright, so we'll start with the snapping feature. So I'm going to create an object. I'm going to call it snap back. You know, I'm going to give all this sprite and yada yada yada, and of course parent. That's, remember, step one of how to use my resource. Now we're going to go into the create event and we're going to add something. So first off, I'm going to say event inherited. That way all the proper scripts are called according to how Power Pan Zoom operates. And then the other thing we want to do, so we want this to have basic panning. If you think about it, that pan snap thing, it's basically normal panning, except that it'll be stopped whenever it hits one of its key points. So basic panning, and we learn how to do this. EMPZ add touch action, and I'm going to say one finger and pan, which is 0, and I'm going to get in the habit of making macros each time, because I think it'll help you a lot if you get in the habit of doing that. So we're going to say pan, and the value for pan is 0, and I'm going to also add the zoom, and the value for zoom is 1. And press OK. Yes, press OK. Therefore, want to save changes. So you know pan. Alright, now for the thing you came for, we're going to add snap points. So these are the points that it knows it needs to align to when you pass it. Alright, so that's EMPZ pan add snap point, I believe. Bam, yep, I got that. So you just need to add an X and Y value, and I'm going to pull up paint on it to get an idea for what that should be. So, when it's talking about X and Y values, talk about X and Y values of the object, and in this image, the object is these whole 3 frames. So 0, 0 is certainly one that we want, and this red box is room, by the way. So 0, 0 is certainly one that we want, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And another one that we want, let's think about this for a second. So remember, the red box is the room, alright? And if we were to move this, so we want to kind of move this so that it's centered around the second page, alright? Now, the point that I want to add is wherever this top left corner would end up. So it's shifted by however wide a single frame is. And in this case, if I look at my sprite, a single frame is 540, because if I take 1620 divided by 2, it's 540. I knew that number already. I didn't calculate it that fast. So we're saying negative 540 because we're shifting actually to the left of the screen. And likewise, when we copy this again, 1080 would be the third one. And by the way, I added a limitation to where it can only be along the X or Y axis. I don't think that'll be a problem for you guys. That's usually the way you want this to work anyway, but I did kind of cop out and add that limitation. So let's see. Let's make the dimensions 540 wide, 960 tall, so that fits exactly 1 frame. And I'll go ahead and add U to it. Now if we hit play, it'll hopefully play on my Android. And I hope we won't botch up the video recording this time. haven't edited the first one yet, but I'll see what solution I use to make sure that you can see it. Alright, here we go. We can't scroll this way because it's, that's the edge of our screen. But you can scroll this way and you can see it locks to the individual things just fine. And that's how you do the pan snapping trick. Alright. Now for the locking on or parenting, or I need to think we got a better name, because I think parenting works, except there is already something in GameMaker called parenting. So, yeah. Alright, so we're going to make an object, and we're going to call this one chessboard. We are, of course, going to give it a sprite, the associated sprite with the chessboard, and we're going to give it a parent. Then we're going to head over to the creation event, and in the creation event, we're going to pull up some code, and the first thing we're going to type is event inherited. So, you know what that is now. And add panning and zooming. We're going to add panning and zooming to this thing. So, EMPZ, add touch action. We're going to make it 2 fingers and pan. And then EMPZ, add touch action. Again, 2 fingers. And this one's going to be zoom. I made a typo. There we go. One of the things I was proud of is that you can mix and match actions like this. Like I have 2 fingers and the same number of fingers is assigned to 2 different actions, and it seems to work pretty well. Alright, just a side note. Now we're going to now we're going to program our pawn. So I'm going to add an object, pawn, and parent it and create code. Alright. And again, event inherited, very important. Inherit it. Okay. Add panning. This one's gonna be 1 finger panning. EMPZ 1 pan. Brilliant. Okay. So this should all make sense so far. Now for the parenting section. There is a script called EMPZ add child, and then you just put down the object or the ID of whatever you want to add as a child. But the problem is that this needs to be called by the chessboard. So if you have multiple pawns, we need to have a way for the chessboard to map out to each, like have a way of knowing all the pawns. So that can be tricky. So the way I decided to do it is I'm in the pawn, I actually jump over to the chessboard object and I parent it inside there from the pawn. If I was making this for one of my projects, I would probably procedurally generate the pawns. So I wouldn't add the pawns to the room. I'll just create them in the chessboard, and then I would have access to the pawns so that I could add as a child. But I feel like this would make more sense for what we're doing now. Alright, so I want to jump over to the chessboard. So with chessboard, add ID. Now there's a problem with this, because since we're in chessboard, the ID represents the ID of the chessboard, not our pawn. And there's a little trick, hack I suppose you can use for this. I'm gonna make I'm gonna make a variable called var me. I'm set equal to ID. So this is still in the pawn. I'm going to set up parenting. And then over here, I'm going to say me. Alright, some of you might not be familiar with this thing, var. There are actually 3 scopes in GameMaker. There's global, there's normal, I suppose, the default version, and var, temporary, default, or global. So what whereas default says this variable applies to this object, temp or /var applies to only this script or event. I think it's script. But yeah, so this, if I had done that, then this right here wouldn't have worked, because me would have been a variable pertaining to this particular pawn, and we're in the chessboard. But since this one pertains to the script, it still exists here. So that's a little trick that comes in handy every now and then. I tend to use it a lot more than, it's one of those things where you tend to use it a lot more than you expect, in my case at least. Alright, now we're going to add another room. I'm going to make the dimensions fit my phone better. I'm going to add my chessboard, and I'm going to throw some pawns on top of the chessboard. Alright, and before I forget, I'm going to go and set the depth of the pawns to -1, so that way they'll for sure show up above the chessboard. Alright, let's try playing this, and hopefully it works. I should have more confidence. It will work. It will work, and we'll see that it will work. And it did work. I have my test page up. I forgot to just make that room up there. The room which shows up is the room which is on top. Well, I guess we can play around with our past achievement for a little bit. Oh. There we go. Alright. So, 2-finger zooming. 2-finger zooming. 2-finger panning. Brilliant, it works. And notice that the pawns move as if they're part of the same sprite as the chessboard, so it's pretty nice. And, of course, I can move the pawns as well. Oh, wait. That's an issue. But I left that in on purpose because... So this is a concept called, I guess, global panning or global zooming, where if you want to use your fingers, it determines whether you have to click directly on it or just anywhere. With the chessboard, it makes sense to just click anywhere because it's kind of like a more general control, so I don't have to be clicking it. But for the pawns, it makes more sense to have to click it, especially because we have multiple of them and we want them to be individually controlled. So right now, I am clicking the one pawn, but the other one are registering it's global. So let's fix that. So if we go back into the pawn, into the create event, we're going to disable globality. Not sure if that's a word. Globality. I think it sounds like an intelligent word though, so we're going to run with it. Alright, EMPZ pan set global false. That's all there is to it. And that should fix that issue. Alright, test it out. We can zoom it. We can pan. And if we move one, move only that one. And there we go, and that's what we want. And that's how that works. That is the parenting trick. Alright, thank you so much for watching my more advanced tutorial on easy mobile pan and zoom. I would very much appreciate it if you would support me and check out the listing on Marketplace. Maybe purchase it if you so will. But either way, I would really appreciate you guys' feedback. Let me know how this could be improved. I intend to make several updates, making it an even better resource for you guys. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in the near future.